But even after all that is said and done, there's still the critics out there. All right? So we need to address those as well. So I have attended a few seminars, and also based on the emails I've got, and I'll summarize some of the critics and what they say. First one, I will have to learn new skills. This is coming from a lecturer. I will have to learn new skills. And aren't we being hypocrites if we say that? Because we tell our students every day, hey, if you want to survive in this dynamic world, you all have to always increase your skill set. You all have to always use and learn new stuff. Students don't have access to technology. Some fear that. But at least for the tertiary level, University of the West Indies, I think that's not a problem. And I showed the graph before where everyone had a device that they could access the podcast. And even if they personally did not own something, they could always access the many computer labs on the campus. But are there any secondary school educators here? Well, all right. But I guess for them it's going to be a little more challenging and they'll have to address that. Why should we go through the trouble of creating podcasts? There's so much material out there. Just look at what MIT is doing. Yeah, MIT is doing good stuff. Stanford, Harvard, everybody's in the mix. But everybody's now getting in the mix. All right? And I have to ask you this. Are you willing to just send your students out there and instead of go get the material and, you have videos out there? That could be dangerous, I have looked at what is out there. Some of it is wrong. Some of it is outdated. I'm not saying MIT before, and we might stream this live. I don't want to hate mail from MIT. I'm just saying information out there, generally. All right? But look at this. This is not for MIT and Stanford. We are in a unique position. No longer are we competing with big grants, fancy equipment. This is podcast. This is what we are delivering. All right? And I strongly believe that the level of innovation and creativity that flows through the veins of this university, we could produce a product that's even better than what they are producing. That's my challenge to me and to you all. Right? Why can't we produce something that will compete with them? And students from all over the world will want to see what we are producing, what the University of the West Indies have to say. All right? So something to think about. Because I think we have the swagger to do it. But I think really the biggest fear amongst my colleagues is this. Students will not attend class. Because if we are putting all this thing online, maybe we'll become obsolete. Nobody wants to come to class anymore. They're going to put strong emphasis on the material that's online. And my answer to you is no. And I have evidence to back that up. So the first set of evidence is this. Now, before I go there, I should say something. And this might be a little controversial. But in the first day of my class, I told the students, hear what? I am doing podcasts for you all. And it's going to be available to you all free to download. And I'm not going to be taking attendance in this class, in this course. And I'm not going to run you down if you're not attending the course. But hear what? You're already here for today. Give me a week. And if I could prove to you that you could get something out of this class that they can't get out of the podcast, well then I think we have an agreement. Because let me tell you something, all right? When you force someone to do something, nothing positive happens out of that, I remember when my mom used to say, hey, go to church. And you're there and you're ticking away like, all right, we almost finished. I could go back home. I could go and do something else. And that's the same thing with the students, You force them to come to that class, and they're just counting down the time to leave. But if you show them that there's some value in it, something different from the podcast, then they will willingly come. And guess what? They might actually learn something there. So this is what the question asks, well, how much classes did you attend? And if you watch, the majority of them said that they attended most or all of the classes. Now, these questionnaires were confidential, they were anonymous, They There's no way I could backtrack it to them. So, I mean, there's no reason to lie. But a critic might say, yeah, well, they just didn't want to upset. They didn't want you to make you feel bad. It was Christmas time after all, you know. They don't want you to feel upset. So, all right, fine. Let's look at our next piece of interesting data. I had a list. Podcasts, lecture notes, textbooks, classes, internet, and the library. And I asked the students to rank them. One being, this is what I think I should use most, and 6 being the least used. All right? So at first I did a Friedman's test, and the Friedman test gave me a significant value. It said that the differences in the ranks, there were differences in the rank. But that's all the Friedman test could do. It could just tell you what the differences. What we need to do now is do a post hoc test and see what the differences are. So I did the Wilkinson sign rank test to see the differences. And interestingly enough, there were differences if you compare everything except 2 things. If you compare podcasts and attending classes, there was no significant difference between that. Meaning that the students, they saw equal merit in both of them. Right? They didn't decide I'm just going to watch the podcast and I'm not going to come to class. They were coming to the classes. All right? Now, are there any librarians here? Because what was hardest hit, right? What students said they never use was the library. Which is strange because I give them a lot of assignments where it's not only the material and they have to go and research it, but they still rather use the internet and the databases online. And I'll tell you something, as I said, these are millennials. They are very resourceful. Eh? You think that how you have to pay to get a journal. These guys are smart, you know. They're saying, you know. We're on camera, I can't go into details. Right? So here's the bottom line. If you are still not convinced that your students found merit in coming to class as well as the podcast, I even asked this open-ended question here. What is your motivation for attending lectures? In other words, what do you get out of attending lectures that you cannot get from the podcast? All right? Because many times we go to these seminars and we don't say what the students think. So the next set of slides, these are the comments from students. Now, there were 109 people who filled out the questionnaire. 108 people did this. And all of them were positive. But I won't give you 108 of them. Let's give you a few samples. All right? One left it blank. So I'm not going to read them out, but just take them in. And again, excuse the grammar. This is just, I just type it out straight from what they were saying. Listen to what our people are saying. Right? I think this was very important. All right, this is very important. You won't believe, like I would, because my class was 157 students, right? I was there. Well, not all of them would attend, but you know, it was around that. But I always had a high attendance, as you saw from the data. But I would go through it would be like a game show, going through the whole classroom, asking questions. Let's choosing people random. So everybody like tense, eh? Because like I might ask you, hey, so call somebody from the back. If you can't figure it out, phone a friend from down in the back. Give me a name. And then they'll be like, sir, I don't know nobody in this class. I say, out of 157 people, you don't know somebody in this classroom? Something wrong. So here what? Homework. No 5 people for tomorrow. And if I ask you, hey, no 5 people, get in trouble. And when they come back and they start knowing people, the group work as well, they get to interact with each other. Alright? So they say, and look, I made the class reps my generals. You know, I say, hey, I want you to go out to them, ask them what's going on, and come back and tell me what's going on. Right? So they said for the first time, it wasn't just a matter of a formality. They got to know their classrooms. And you can only do this if you have time. If you control the time in the classroom, you're no longer a slave in completing your syllabus. All right? Because you know the content is there, and now you're going to emphasize and really engage the students in the content. Right? Because you have the control of that time, you can do things like this. So you see interactive, asking questions. And again, look, these students, they really were impressed with what we were doing. Because look, they didn't just leave these things blank. They wanted to tell me, well, what impact it was having on them. They took their time and answered these questionnaires. I didn't answer all 109 of them. I'm coming. I even got a smiley face, No. Nice touch, nice touch. These are the words from the people we are working for. Right? So let's summarize. Reasons for attending class. Top on the list was it was interactive. Right? I was able to ask questions. They were able to ask me questions. We both learned from the experience. Clarification. If they saw something in the podcast that was giving them trouble, we really dealt with it in the classroom. We really went in depth with the topic. Reinforcement. There was repetition. What you learn in the podcast, you learn in the classroom, right? There's that reinforcement of knowledge as well. Stimulate thinking. They said from the questions. Like sometimes I would be like, later on in the semester, we're talking about glycolysis from day one. Say, let me ask you a question about glycolysis. So, we're ready for you now. I think I know everything in glycolysis. I was like, all right. I was reading a paper the other day. Glycolysis, they say, have a turbo design. How is it similar to a jet engine? So why? So, all right, well, that is how life is, you know. So they get to look at it from a different perspective again. When they thought that they know every single thing about glycolysis, boom, they have something new to think about now. And it is the same information, It is not necessarily from a different angle. Fun. Don't ever underestimate that. Have fun with your students. Right? Bust a little joke every now and then. Have them smile. They enjoy the topic. They feel relaxed in the classroom. They learn. That's very, very important. Now, again, I'm not perfect. So we asked questions. And the question here was, how do you think the podcast service could be improved? All right? So some guys, a lot of them said, hey, we like it just as it is. It's perfect, sir. But we are here to get better. Access by different downloading methods. As I said, I was using MediaFire, so they had to go download the whole file. All right? They wanted to be played on any player, which I found strange because I did two things. In the My Learning slot where I give the links for MediaFire, they were AVI files. They should play on any player. But I also gave them a VLC, a term download VLCs, which plays anything. But it still was getting trouble. Oh, well, no problem. And they want animations. They want it all. Right? Now, another concern of mine I didn't put up here was that some of them were saying that they wanted the podcast to be in shorter segments. And at the beginning, I was thinking about that, because I looked at the Khan's Academy and Bozeman Biology, and they had their podcast at 15 minutes, no longer. They said how this works, all right? Well, I was like 15 minutes. But they're in a lecture for an hour. Why can't I get 15 minutes, 50, in my podcast, and tell them here what? Unlike the lecture, there's something called a pause button. You are an adult, you are mature enough to know that I have reached a point where I don't want to go any further. Pause. Go do whatever you want, come back, play. It's amazing. Right? And I tried it on. I said, well, let's see what could happen. So I asked the question in the questionnaire, would you like the podcast to be broken up into shorter segments? The average podcast at the time was about 50 minutes. 30.8% said yes, 69.2% said no. Alright? So it looks like the majority class didn't mind. They appreciate the pause button and they exercise the right to pause. Alright? But I am currently redoing some, and I'm doing some new podcasts. And I'm going to leave it, I'm going to go to 30 minutes now. Alright, so I've listened. Although it's not the majority, I'm sympathetic. I'll listen. Alright? But in terms of so this was the end of semester 1, and I listened to them. They said they wanted a better downloading medium. They wanted better ways for it to play on their devices. So I said, great. This is where we're going to launch the BiochemJM YouTube channel. And I'm going to upload podcasts on YouTube. So now you could access it once you have an internet connection, which at the university you have broadband. And a question I didn't put up here, but they also said they had broadband at home. So they could access it both at home as well as in the university. So the first video was uploaded on January 28, 2012. And up to today, we have 23 videos up. There are 149 subscribers, 25% of which are international subscribers. So I have people from, checking me out. We have over 12,000 views. And over I shouldn't say over 100 because there's 101. So I'll just say 101 countries have visited the site. All right? And since I plan to, I'll see we videotaping here. I'm hoping to get the files so we can put it up on YouTube. All right? And these are my people from all over the world coming and look at our podcast. So, hi and thanks for viewing. All right? But enough talk. Let's see some samples.
Draw the ionizable structures. The next thing we want to do is calculate the net charge for these things. So let's see. Net charge, you're going to count up all the charges available. For this one, it's only this charge here. That's the only charge I see. So you put the number and then the sign in 1 plus. So do the same for these 3 structures. You can pause the video here and see if you can work on the net charges. I'll come back and let's go again.
You're going to find which one is in excess. And you find the pH using the relevant formulae. Alright? And you have to again consider the final volume. The pH for this question would have been 12.63. So again, pause the presentation here. If you got 12.63, well, great, you can continue. If not, see if you got the correct one in excess and see if you use the right formula. And if not, well then we go to this next slide here. So you see again, we're going to be doing something similar to what we did to the first question. Jason Matthew here again. And if you look above my head, you'll see something really interesting taking place. Alright, so I've tried something, more visual for you all. And it's basically a summary of the first 3 neuroscience lectures. So what I want you to do is to look at that carefully and go through each word there. And each word there should trigger something from the past lectures. If you're seeing something there and you can't relate it to something you have learned already, I strongly suggest that you go back to the previous 3 lectures and get the information there. Using the whiteboard, so to speak. So let me do some drawing here. Let's say that this here is the typical neuron. Alright? And we have a sodium potassium pump. So we are moving 3 Na plus to the outside of the cell, in this case the neuron, and we are moving 2 K plus into the neuron. Like a revision now. So make sure you can figure this out on your own. So if you think you can't answer it right away, what I would recommend is that you go over what we just did. Because what we just did has all the information for the answers here and these to figure out what's being blocked out. So if you think you're not ready as yet, what I would recommend, go back to the start and go through it again. And as usual, what I would also recommend is that you should have your pen and paper alongside listening to this podcast and making as much notes as possible. Because I strongly believe that when you write, you will remember better. So please, keep writing, keep making notes, keep summarizing these podcasts, and make them your own.
Now the new academic year is approaching. So again, what do we do to raise the bar somewhat? And while, my focus was delivery and engagement this academic year, next academic, this is my focus, all right? And what do I mean by that? Imagine, create, innovate. Well, here what? I have done the podcast. I know how to use the technology. I'm going to get my students to do it now. I am going to teach my students how to use the technology, how to create podcasts. And I've been busy making up certain assignments. I'm pretty excited about what I have in store for them. That shall be our next seminar, a few months to come. All right, so this consider the trailer. This is the trailer for the next seminar. All right, so I've putting together some cool stuff. I don't want to give all the details as yet. Wait until the next seminar. But they are going to be creating and innovating. But you can see it happening and evolving on my YouTube channel. So you can always join and subscribe to it and see it happening in real time. All right? But the students are going to be doing it this round. Now, look at this. I've said a lot of things today. And change is intimidating and threatening. And I'm taking a lot of people outside of their comfort zone. And that can be very scary. All right? But, and Diane didn't put me up to this, but I'll just say, you have the support of the IDU. All right? I hear they are assembling a podcast team. That's fantastic news. You all could go to them. They have the mad skills to train you all, teach you all how to do this thing properly. I'm experimenting along the way. Feel free to go and check the YouTube channel, see examples of what I'm doing. All right? But the IDU, these are the experience, these are the knowledge. These are the guys that have the knowledge to train you all. All right? So there's some quotes. Technology will not replace good teachers. But a teacher who does not embrace technology will be replaced. I think so. All right, that's my opinion. I might get some hate mail again, but that's what I think. And then again, from my hero in education, Sir Ken Robinson, you should Google him. You should check his YouTube videos. Excellent stuff. Multimedia, internet. These technologies combine, not replace, not alone, combined with the extraordinary talents of teachers, provide the opportunity to revolutionize education. I urge you all to get involved in it. It is vital not just to ourselves, but the future of our children. And I mean, that's what it's all about. So I just want to acknowledge some people. Well, I just have the Bio 2065 thing, because this is where it happened. This is where it started. But throughout the year, students have given me a lot of support. And I want to thank all my students, HEWEC 2000, Agri 1013, and Bio 3362. All of them had access to podcasts, and all of them benefited and gave me the feedback. And as an educator, as most of you all are here, you all know that feeling, that feedback is what really makes you all go on. Well, because I'm not getting rich out of this. This is additional work, right? But the impact it is having on your students is what pushes me forward. All right? So, thank you. I really hope that you all got something out of this, and you all are going out and going to try some podcasting. All right? So that's it.